G'day folks, Costo with you once again, this time for Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com, where we talk country rugby league from Parkes to Perth and Bega to the Burdekin. Now I've got to start by asking you the question, did you enjoy Origin 2? Well, I certainly did, but then again, that's the Queenslander in me. Another big show coming up this episode, including our chat with a man who's spent over a decade playing the game professionally, a big chunk of that in the UK with Wakefield, in addition to his efforts on the world stage with Tonga. Later in the show, we catch up with David Fifita, the one-time Cronulla Shark, now almost 36 years of age, and captain coach of Kincumber on the New South Wales Central Coast. But after the break, a look at country rugby league right across New South Wales and the ACT, and yes, that includes the Central Coast, where there was plenty of drama last Sunday afternoon. You're listening to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. Jason Costigan is my name, and as usual, we start our New South Wales segment with Newcastle. And in the Denton Cup last weekend, Wyong, they won 22-6 at Lakes United. Macquarie edged out the visiting Northern Hawks 12 points to 10. The same score at Maitland, where the Pickers defeated Cessnock, and Rick Stone's Rosellas at home beat Curry 26-0. The Denton Cup ladder has Maitland on top on 13, Western Suburbs and Souths on 12, Wyong 11, Cessnock and the entrance on 10, followed by Lakes United, Macquarie and Curry all on 8 points, Central 6, the Northern Hawks on 2. And for this Saturday from 3 o'clock, we've got the Rosellas back at home, this time to face Wyong as Curry hosts Cessnock in a massive local derby, as always, in the coalfields. And then from 6 o'clock, the Butcher Boys play Maitland at St John Oval. And on Sunday, the entrants hit the road to play the Northern Hawks from 3 o'clock, and at the same time, Souths welcome Lakes United. And in the very near future, for all you good people in the Hunter, we'll be focusing on the Denton Cup, so stay tuned for more. In the Northern Rivers, last Sunday, the footy returned after the King's birthday long weekend. Bilambil 60, Northern United 18. Maris Brothers 36, Kyogle 6, Ballina 28, Lower Clarence 4, Tweed Coast 10, Evans Head 24, Mullumbimby 18, Murwillumbah 26, Tweed Heads 32, Byron Bay 12, and Casino 26, Coogin 28. To the ladder, Coogin 16, Bilambil 14, Evans Head 11, Maris Brothers 9, then Ballina, Murwillumbah and Mullamon 7, Kyogle 6, Casino 5, Tweed Heads, Lower Clarence and Tweed Coast on 4, Northern United and Byron Bay on 0. And for this Sunday, Northern United host Ballina, Murwillumbah at home to Tweed Coast, Coogin play Maris Brothers at Ned Byrne Oval, Bilambil off to Kyogle, Casino at Byron Bay, Tweed Heads at Evans Head, and Lower Clarence v Mullumbimby at Yamba. All those round 9 games to start at 2:45. To Group 2 on the North Coast, round 7 last weekend, Coffs 28, South Grafton 12, Grafton Ghost 26, Maxwell 24, Woolgoolga 42, Nambucca 18. The Group 2 ladder, Woolgoolga undefeated on 12, Sawtell and Nambucca 9, South Grafton 8, Coffs Comet 7, Maxwell 6, and the Grafton Ghosts on 5. And this Saturday, the table-topping Seahorses hosting the Rebels, and on Sunday, Coffs off to Maxwell, and the Grafton Ghosts welcome Sawtell. All 3 fixtures commence at 2:40. To Group 3, and last weekend on the Mid-North Coast, Warhope 4, Port Macquarie Sharks 28, Wingham 6, Ulbar 22, Taree City 14, Foster Tuncurry 26, Port City 14, Macleay Valley 22. To the ladder, the Sharks and Macleay Valley both undefeated, first and second respectively on 8 points, Ulbar and Wingham on 6, Foster Tuncurry 2, and on 0, Port City, Warhope and Taree City. Looking ahead on Saturday, round 6, we've got Foster Tuncurry hosting Warhope and Taree City at home to Port City. Those games from 3 o'clock. And then on Sunday from 2:45, Macleay Valley at Ulbar and Wingham at Port to play the Sharkies. In Group 4, last weekend, raising awareness for mental health, the Dungowan Cowboys, in partnership with Headspace Tamworth. A terrific effort off the field by the Cowboys, but on the paddock, plenty of work to do. Werris Creek smashing them 48 points to 8. Elsewhere at Jubilee, Boggabri crushed Katingal 48-6. In Moree, the Boars beat Weewar 62-24 and North Tamworth down Gunnedah 20 points to 12 in the country music capital. To the ladder, and the undefeated Werris Creek on 13, Moree Boars 10, Gunnedah Norths and Boggabri 9, Dungowan 4, Katingal 2 and Weewar on 0. And for this Saturday, as they go into the second half of the regular season, a top-of-the-table clash at David Taylor Oval between Werris Creek and Moree Boars. That should be a ripper, starting at 3 o'clock. And at the same time, Norths host Dungowan. And on Sunday, Wee Waa off to Boggabri as Gunnedah meet Cootie at Kitchener Park. Those matches also starting at 3 o'clock. To the Central Coast, and last weekend we saw some ugly scenes on and off the field at Kincumber. One of the Arimba players on the receiving end of a dangerous tackle, but the referee refused to give the offender an early shower. Instead, he got 10 in the bin, and I couldn't believe it. I saw it myself and I just shook my head. And off the field at Kincumber, some crazy stuff, a punch-up involving spectators. We actually broke this story in the news here on rugbyleague.com. And last we heard, the New South Wales Rugby League was investigating. And as for the on-field stuff, David Fifita's Colts, they got the chocolates 24-20 over James Maloney's Magpies. And soon we'll catch up with David Fifita right here on Bushbeat. Also last weekend, Toukley 12, the entrance 2, Terrigal 12, Woy Woy 40, Wyong 48, Berkeley Vale 4. The ladder, undefeated Erina on 14, Wyong and Toukley on 10, Kincumber and the entrance on 8, Woy Woy 6, and on 4 points, Arimba, Berkeley Vale and Terrigal. Now this Sunday, round 10, a massive test coming up for Kincumber with their trip to Erina, and you can bet that FIFO, former NRL and Super League star Matt Moylan, will be on deck for the Colts. You'd have to think so for that big game against the high-flying Eagles. Elsewhere on Sunday Arvo, Toukley v Woy Woy, Arimba at home to Wyong, and the entrance v Berkeley Vale. All games to start at 3:05, except the game in Tiger Town, which starts much earlier at 1:25. In the Illawarra, last weekend, the Harrigan Cup continued. Thirroul 10, Western Suburbs 20, Dapto 46, De La Salle 18, Corrimal 12, Collies 38, I beg your pardon. And to the ladder, Collies and Wests on 10, Dapto and De La Salle 6, Thirroul 4 and Corrimal on 0. This Saturday, the Butchers are off to Canary Land as the Devils welcome the Cougars. Kick-off is 3 o'clock for both matches. And then on Sunday from 2 p.m, Collegians host De La Salle. In the Macarthur, round 9 last weekend, Camden 34, East Campbelltown 6, Collegians 48, Mittagong 16, Southwest Goannas 16, the Oaks 40, Thirlmere 18, Roos 30, Picton 12, Oakdale Workers 34. To the ladder in the Macarthur, Camden undefeated still on 18 points, the Oaks and Oakdale Workers on 14, then Collegians and Roos on 12, Picton and Mittagong on 8, Thirlmere, East Campbelltown and the Goannas 6, and Narellan Jets on 2. This Sunday, Collegians play Picton at Bradbury, East Campbelltown off to the Oaks, Roos play Camden at Fullwood Reserve, Oakdale Workers welcome the Goannas, and the Jets play the Roosters at Narellan. All games start at 3 o'clock. In Group 7 on the South Coast, congratulations to local referee Ryan McAuliffe. He's one step closer now to achieving his dream of cracking NRL as a whistleblower. He's one of 6 referees drafted into the New South Wales Rugby League's high performance squad. So well done to him. He started doing first grade, they tell me, in Group 7 at the tender age of 16. So it looks like young McAuliffe has got a big future in the game as a referee. We wish him well. In Clubland on the South Coast, last weekend, at Gerringong, the Lions defeated Nowra 30-18. On the road, Berry upset Albion Park 32-16. At Kiama, the Knights 22, Stingrays 26, and Shellharbour beat Jamboree 28-24 at Ron Costello. The Group 7 ladder, Stingrays and Shellharbour first and second respectively on 12, Kiama and Albion Park 10, Jamboree, Gerringong and Milton Ulladulla on 8, Berry 6, Nowra 4. This Saturday, Gerringong off to Berry as Kiama visit Jamboree, and on Sunday, Milton Ulladulla head up to Bomber to play the Jets. And at Flinders Field, Rays play Albion Park with all matches starting at 3 o'clock. Further down the coast in Group 16, Merimbula Pambula won 28-24 at Tathra in an action-packed top-of-the-table clash last weekend. Cooma won 28-16 at Maruya. At Eden, the Tigers 52-18 over Narooma. And Bombala put the cleaners through visiting Batemans Bay 60 points to 0. To the ladder, the Bulldogs undefeated on 14, Eden on 12, Tathra 10, Cooma 8, Narooma 7, Maruya 6, Bombala 5, Bega with the bye last weekend, they're on 4, and Batemans Bay on 2. For this Saturday, we've got the Stallions versus Eden at Cooma from 3 o'clock, and on Sunday, Bega with a daunting task on the road against the Dogs. That starts at 2:30, and then from 3 o'clock, Batemans Bay at Narooma, and Maruya up at Bombala. To the Riverina and Group 9, Ben Shea's arrival for Junee last weekend, just the tonic. The Diesels edging out visiting Cootamundra 26-24. at Laurie Daly Oval. And since then, the Diesels have taken delivery of Michael Gudemond, the former Super League star and current French international and Challenge Cup winner from his days with the Catalan Dragons, who's just arrived in the country in the past 24 hours or so. In fact, he'll be at training with the Diesels tonight, they tell me, for the very first time. That's after we broke the story about him signing with Junee in the news here on rugbyleague.com. In the other matches last weekend, the home teams always mentioned first, of course, in case you hadn't noticed. Tumut 42, Brothers 20, Roos 18, Young 16, South City 14, Gundagai 22. And a 22-all draw between Temora and Albury at Nixon Park. To the latter in Group 9, the Glamour Boys, Roos on top on 16, Gundagai 12, Temora and Tumut 11, Young and Albury 8, Junee 6, South City and Kuta 4, and Brothers with the big fat 0. This Saturday we've got Gundagai v Junee in the Tucker Box Town as the Thunder play host to the Roos. And on Sunday in the Cherry Capital, Young v Tumut, Temora at Kuta, and a big local derby in Wagga, where the winless Brothers play the Bulls. In Group 19 last weekend, Urella won 30-26 at Glen Innes. The Boomerangs 36-22 winners over visiting Gyra at Newling Oval. Narwin, no match for Inverell. The Hawks 58-16 winners, and Tonga and Warrielda played out a 32-all draw at Tonga. To the latter, the Hawks are flying high on 18 points. Then on 14, we've got Glen Innes and Tonga, Gyra and Urella on 9, Boomerangs 8, Warrielda and Narwin on 6. In Group 20, last Sunday at Darlington Point, Roosters 28, Yanko 20, Waratahs beat the Sharks 32-20 at Lake Kajalago, Leeton 22, Hay 14, and at West Wyalong, Mallymen 12, Black and Whites 32. To the latter, Waratahs on top on 16, Leeton 12, DPC and Yenda 10, Yanko 9, Black and Whites 8, Hay 7, Sharks and Mallymen on 4, and battling for the wooden spoon. This Sunday, Hay at Darlington Point, Yenda at Leeton, TLU at Yanko, and a huge local derby at Solar Mad Stadium, where Black and Whites play Waratahs. All games start at 2:30 p.m. In Group 21 in the Hunter Valley, last weekend, Greater Branxton 34-14 winners at Muswellbrook, Denman 20-14 victors at Aberdeen, and Scone 26 defeated visiting Singleton 16. The latter undefeated Greater Branxton on 8 points, Muswellbrook and Singleton 6, Scone and Denman 4, and Aberdeen on 2. This Saturday at 5:30 p.m, it's Greater Branxton at home to Singleton, and on Sunday from 2 o'clock, we've got Muswellbrook at Denman and Scone at Aberdeen. To the Central West and the Peter McDonald Premiership last weekend, St Pat's 18, Dubbo Sims 24, Parks 36, Lithgow Workies 14, Ningen 18, Bathurst Panthers 20, Orange Hawks 36, Forbes 36, Dubbo Macquarie 24, Orange Sims 28, and Wellington 28, Mudgee 22. To the latter in the PMP, Forbes on 13, then 4 teams on 12, Dubbo Sims, Wellington, Mudgee and Orange Sims, St Pat's on 10, Macquarie 8, Hawks 7, Ningen and Parks 6, and Panthers and Lithgow on 4. This weekend, on Saturday at Wade Park at 2:30, Orange Sims v Lithgow Workies, and on Sunday from 2 o'clock, Panthers and Hawks at Carrington Park, Mudgee and St Pat's at Glen Willow, Dubbo Sims at Parks, Ningen at Forbes, and Macquarie v Wellington at Apex Oval. In the Woodbridge Cup and the matches played last weekend, Manildra won 28-22 at Ugara, Cowra at home beat Orange United 32-20, Peak Hill won 30-12 at Cargo, Canowindra 66-6 winners at Grenfell, and Molong got smashed at Oberon 40-0. To the latter, Manildra, Oberon and Cowra on 14, Molong 11, Canowindra, Orange United and Condobolin on 10, Ugara and Trundle on 8, Peak Hill 7, Cargo 4, Grenfell 2. This Saturday, Oberon hosts Grenfell at 3 o'clock. Then on Sunday, Manildra hosting Cargo, Orange United at Molong, Condo at Canowindra, and at Trundle, where we should give a big shout out to the Procopus family, owners of the local pub, the Boomers play Cowra. All those games starting at 2 o'clock. In the Castlereagh League, Narromine last weekend won 64 blot at Barradine, Gulgong 36-30 winners at home against Warren. The Bears won at Canamble 33-28 against Cobar, and Coonabarabran won 48-20 at Dunedoo. The latter, Coolah 21, Coona 19, Gulgong 17, Narromine 16, Canamble and Cobar 15. Sounds like a weather forecast. Dunedoo 11, Warren 10, Barradine 9. And this weekend, Gulgong at Coolah, Canamble at Coona, Barradine at Cobar, and Dunedoo at Warren. All those games starting at 2:30pm. In the Pro 10 Cup, round 3 last weekend at Gulgowie, Ivanhoe beat Barellan 22-12. Rankin Springs crushed Deniliquin 58-6, and Gulgowie 8-0 winners over Hillston in a low-scoring affair. The ladder, Ivanhoe 6, 4 teams then on 4, Hillston, Gulgowie, Rankin Springs and Barellan, Narandra 2 and Danny on 0. Now for this Saturday in the Pro 10, all roads lead to the Town of Trees. We have Gulgowie v Barellan, Hillston v Rankin Springs and the host club Narandra up against the Blue Healers. In the ACT, the Canberra Raiders Cup, last weekend, Belconnen United 12, West Belconnen 62, Roos 30, Gungahlin 20, Blues 58, Yass 6, Goulburn 18, Woden Valley 18. To the ladder, Roos and Blues on 12, West Belconnen 11, Woden Valley 8, Gungahlin and Belconnen United on 6, Goulburn 5, Tuggeranong and Yass on 2. And this weekend, Gungahlin at Tuggeranong, West Belconnen v Woden Valley at Raiders Belconnen, Yass play Goulburn at Walker Park in a battle of the Bushies, and Roos hosting eternal rivals Blues. No doubt the match of the round, and standing out like a beacon, that one. All games starting on Saturday from 3 o'clock. Finally, the George Took Shield, Boorowa 20, Bungendore 14, Snowy River Bears 24, Bynalong 26, UC Stars 18, Crookwell 62, and Harden Hawks, big winners at McLean Oval, 70 points to 4 over Googong. The ladder, Harden and Boorowa on 8, Bungendore and Bynalong 7, Crookwell 4, Snowy River Bears also on 4, North Canberra 2, and Googong and Stars both on 0. This Saturday, Bynalong host North Canberra from 2:15. Then from 2:30, Googong at home to the Snowy River Bears, Stars at Bungendore, and Crookwell to welcome Boorowa. Stay with us here on Bushbeat. Coming up next, David Fifita, the captain coach of the Kincumber Colts. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com, and my guest here on the program today is former NRL player David Fifita, the captain coach of the Kincumber Colts on the central coast of New South Wales. And David, last Sunday afternoon I saw you playing in 2 tries and some great leadership in a close one. You got the chocolates.
Yeah, just put your body on the line for the team. That's what I want. So, yeah.
You're softly spoken like many of your brothers, but I'm going to try and get you out of your shell here on Bushbeat, because a lot of people are, I think the whole concept of players who've played at the elite level, whether it's one game in first grade, and that's NRL or Super League, the 2 professional leagues, or 300, 400 games, the fact that you're still involved with the game at grassroots level on the Central Coast. And I know that you're making a big impact on the Central Coast. Just tell us about your work with Kincumber.
Yeah, last year played up the entrance on the Denton Cup. Great club. Great blokes up there as well. I just thought it was time, if I didn't go back and give back to my junior club. My junior club's out west, but my kids are over at... They're here. They're all playing juniors here at Kincumber, so I just said I'll give them a year. Spoke to one of your best mates, Jared. He currently coaches with me. He does all the off-field dramas. I'm on the field, so he's got the easier job in my opinion. But yeah, watching the kids on Saturday, helping out as much as I can, and coaching 2 teams, helping out with them and stuff like that with me 10s and me 17 or me 14 boys, and then I help out the 17 girls. I run water for them. I love the girls' game. Big on it. Was in the Tarsha Gala this year with them. It's a big future for them. So I want to help the women's game grow. So it's probably one of my goals.
Now, spending time on the Central Coast, Little Bird tells me that on Saturday before last weekend's game against Narimba, you spent hours and hours with the kids, almost king of the kids.
No. Yeah, probably hours of driving different locations and that. So yeah, there's more in the mornings we're here, helping set up the coffee cart here, and then we move on, watch the kids play, helping them out. Then we're off to Umina, helping them. That's my boys' team. And then moving over to the 17 girls. And then, yeah, taking off for work. Took some clients up to Newcastle in the Roosters game last night, so it was good.
Now, you talked about the West before, David. For people like me, that means like Mount Isa, where I'm going to be on Sunday afternoon calling the grand final, live and free on rugbyleague.com. But in your story, in your case, growing up, you mean the western suburbs of Sydney, of course, and the rough and tumble western suburbs of Sydney. Tell us about what was life growing up as a Westie in that Polynesian environment.
I wouldn't say much about the Polynesian environment as well. It was more around the Aboriginal side. I grew up with mum, single parent. Dad was always in the picture and everything, every second weekend. But yeah, grew up in Doonside out Western Sydney. Tough times. Housing commission. We love how we grew up, and it was tough. Don't get me wrong, times were tough out there for us, but it made our bond stronger as brothers. So you got my twin brother Andrew, he was good, and then my oldest brother. Just grew up out there playing hard and tough footy, and you come up against some big islanders. We weren't always this big, so like I said, I made 20s as a centre, so tall, lanky, but beefed up, become a front rower. So yeah.
Now tell us about the Fifita clan, because so many of our listeners will know about the Fifitas here, Fifitas there, Fifitas everywhere. Who's related to who? And it's at heart. I'm sure you've had some funny stories and instances where people got mixed up with somebody else. But conscientious of time being a factor here, just tell us perhaps some of the stories about the clan and who's who in the zoo. At first there wasn't many of us. I know that. So that quickly changed.
No relation to John Fifita, was at St. George back in the old days. We met him a few times. There probably was a cousin down the line, but Dad never introduced us while we were younger or anything like that. We've got Junior. He's up top, like a Titan, Dave Junior. So he's down the great-grandfathers, their brothers. So they're down that line.
And he's your cousin?
Yeah, cousin Dave. Yeah, he's good. That's all I know at the moment. I know Andrew, twin brother. He's all right, yeah. So are there other Fifitas I don't know of?
What about JJ?
No, I don't know of. So you probably have to speak to my father, and then he dissects the family tree and goes, he is. And if you go to Mount Jewett with him, we've got a new cousin every week, so yeah.
So if you're having a family reunion, the way you're going, you might have to book out a core stadium.
Oh, yeah, mate. That's why I couldn't get married here. So
Is that bad, eh?
Yeah, that bad. So
have you spoken to the King of Tonga to see if you can have it offshore?
Yeah, probably. But yeah, you're right.
Tell us about your love for the red jersey and playing for Tonga and what it means and that journey, because there was some years ago that and let's not sugarcoat this, Dave, the Pacific Islands were almost an afterthought. That's not the case anymore. There's plenty of respect for your brothers wearing the red jersey or the blue of Samoa, and on it goes.
Yeah. It's good to see the actual game growing, and they're actually going back to their Polynesian heritages and that. You got to understand like how tough it is over there in the islands, and watching them grow and what they went through, and our ancestors and everything like that. So it was good to get back before Andrew made that call to go back. I think it was in 16 or 17, whatever it was.
How significant was that? And you might be a bit biased here, but let's put it on the table here. That was big stuff.
Yeah, it was. His goal, like all year, I knew his goal was to get back in that Australian team, and he done me proud because we always just talked, and he goes, "I'm going to get back there." I said, "I'll back you. Just keep going for it." And then I ended up leaving, and then he just said, "I'm gonna get back in." And then I think it was 2015. We went over to Tonga and had a look, and then talking to our grandfather and everyone like that around there, and he just seen the struggles, how tough it is over in our little island, like living off the land, and you got our like uncles, my dad's brothers, and that's still hunting, still cooking and everything like that, and the females were cleaning and make sure everything's right.
So the old traditions continue.
Yep, old traditions still continue over there where our island is. But yeah, I think just seeing that and just seeing the people of Tonga when they rose, and how much it grew, I think he made the right call in the end. When he called me up and said, "I'm going to change," pretty much I laughed and I said, "I've got your back every time." I said, "What's Dad said?" And he thought Dad would love him. He goes, "Dad, I'm going to make the switch to Tonga," after being named for Australia, because he was so proud of him. And then Andrew goes, "Dad, I'm going to make the switch." And my old man goes, "Are you stupid?" So, it was one of them ones. But he made all our family so proud. And, the flags of Tonga went. And he had someone to speak with Jason Tom Law up there. So, yeah.
So where was this in terms of the picture, just so we have some perspective? Because Taumalolo does get a lot of the credit, does he not, for the big shift, the quantum shift, really, in players saying, "You know what, I want to honour my heritage."
Yeah, it was one of them ones where if you do it, I do it. That's all I know. So he goes, "You do it, I do it. You do it, I do it." Then Andrew, and they both made New Zealand and then Tonga, Australia. Then Jay said, "I'm going to play for Tonga." And then Andrew's like, "Geez, he really did it. Then I'm doing it as well. Let's go." And then just from there, I think.
Great stuff indeed. We're speaking to David Fifita, the captain coach of the Kincumber Colts in the Central Coast, just north of Sydney in New South Wales, here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. I'm Jason Costigan. Stay with us. We'll have more of David Fifita and his new club, the Kincumber Colts. His old club, really, but he's back in town as captain coach. Stay with us. More to come. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. I just want to clarify what I said. David Fifita, he's captain coach here at Kincumber, and not his junior club per se, but his kids. It's their junior club. And David, you're putting back here and you're a fair way into the season so far. And last Sunday, a tough game at the office, a tough afternoon at the office, I should say. But you got the win against Ourimbah, but a massive game coming up this coming Sunday against undefeated Erina. I'm sure that's not lost on you as that game gets closer.
Yeah, we've already versed them here, and we know how tough they are. We don't come. I believe we lost that game ourselves. 17 errors, 15 penalties. It's tough as it is. But they know what's coming. They know we're going to be coming straight for them, and all the pressure is on them. So no dramas from our side.
What about your side? There was allegations that you stacked the team, not you personally, but your club basically looking to buy a premiership. That was the allegation. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah. I'm sure you heard the vibe, you read the papers, you saw it on Facebook, whatever. You got Matt Moylan here, who's got a pretty impressive CV. Yeah. He didn't play last week. Most people expect him to play this week, coming against the Eagles. And you've got other players that have had, big game experience at the highest level. How did you handle that criticism of Kincumber that you basically got the checkbook out trying to buy the premiership?
We ain't got no leagues club. Like I said, I'm here. I'm doing off my own back. I know what I am. I love giving back to the community. I want to lead my kids, and they're looking up to me after every game. I've already said I've probably said it last year. That was my last year playing, but no, they buy into us really good. They already had the two boys here with both Bens, Ben Marshke and Ben Thomas. And Ben Thomas is that local junior, and he wants a championship. That was just an easy thing. They said, we're coming back. Like, we know what you bring. And then it was just my job to find a couple more players around. I had Matt Moylan. We grew up with out west as well, with Ben, his older brother.
So it's the old Westie connection?
It is. And then we're good mates, went to whole high school together and everything. And, we can't get Ben, so we had to go for the other brother, Matt. So, but Matt brings a lot of experience. He's not getting paid by Kincumber. He doesn't do anything. He just comes down and plays footy with his mates. One of them ones that loves giving back to his community.
So he comes down on the plane from the Gold Coast where he can to play?
No, I don't know about Gold Coast. Is
that where he is?
He's up there. He's down in the Shire. He's up here with his brother.
Is there only one Matt Moylan?
There's a coach. There's a couch, and whoever's got a couch free for that day or something, he just sleeps around on it. He just couch surfers.
So there's only the one. There's only the one, but he's well travelled.
100%. So he's when it comes to retirement after footy, he's living it up, and he's living everyone's dream. So, every time you call him, he's playing golf. He's doing something, but
he's in cruise control.
Yeah, he is. He really is, and he's making us all jealous. But at the same time, I've got a family now to raise and lead by example, so it's good. Yeah.
So you think it's a bit rich, some of this talk, this newspaper talk, the paper talk, the social media talk, that you're trying to buy the premiership, where some clubs have got cashed up leagues club operations. Oh, yeah. You still run very much on a, I won't say an oily rag, but it looks very, very basic here. Very, very community-based club, Kincumber.
Yeah. Make it clear. I don't get a cent. I don't do nothing here. I just want a good team around me. We're all a bunch of local juniors. That's why how we stay under the cap. And everyone knows the rules. And that's what I didn't get. We got allocated 100 points. We're way under it. So
now, just so people are listening to rugbyleague.com and listening to our program on Bushbeat here, the point system that you're talking about, it was devised by some boffins years ago that if you play NRL, it's worth so many points, or international, maybe kangaroo, whatever, so many points. And so you can't stack the team, so to speak. You've got to be conscious of that point system. And so you're obviously abiding by that.
One of the worst rules we've got is, for instance, our little fullback. He played 19s today. He's under 19s. He's 25 points. So as much as we're trying to get our 19s involved and get him, build him up for the following years, he's worth 25 points because he played I think it's that Andrew Johns or a local rep thing on the Central Coast. So he's 25 points will do me. So he's young, and it's hard for him to go to another team because he's just going to be 30 points. Last year he was 30 points. This year he's 25, which I think they need to look into and fix up. So it's one player like him, and he drops still down to 15 next year. So it doesn't bother us. I'll give all if you're playing your best footy, we'll give you the opportunity and we'll make it work.
So what you're saying, it's not a perfect system, and it needs tinkering to reflect the CV and the achievement of the player.
Yep. I do get it, yeah, but it's just around that local junior on the coast comp. I just don't know what it is, and especially if you're still playing under 19s, and if you're scared for the local juniors coming through and playing against you, there's dramas. So 19-year-old, yeah, I reckon you got to brush that rule. Like, I don't mind, not just for me, I know, I want every other team. If they've got a good 19s, 18-year-old, they're ready for first grade, play them. It's fine.
We're speaking to David Fifita, the captain coach of Kincumber on the Central Coast north of Sydney. David, you talk about that point system and the other clubs in the competition. How strong is the competition for bush footy? Last Sunday, James Maloney, for example, former NRL premiership winner, in fact, two-time premiership winner, of course, as you know, in the NRL, played in Super League, played for his country, played Origin, playing for Arimba against you last Sunday. There's some big names playing in Central Coast footy north of Sydney.
Yeah, it's good, and it draws a crowd. So it's one of my goals as well, to bring a crowd back around and get the vibe. I just felt like it was kind of not dying, but like it was going downhill pretty quick. And it was great what Jamie's done. James has gone back there to Arimba and said, no, we're playing first grade, and they're making a statement. So congrats to Maloney, Jimmy. Jimmy's good. So congrats to him and bringing them up to first grade, because they were pushing players out and they made a statement on Dora Creek and didn't even give them an opportunity. So they've just gone out the back door. So when you lose a team, you're trying to bring teams in to make a better competition.
I have to ask you about your own body. 36 years of age, is that right? You've got a birthday coming up.
End of the month,
Not that I'm counting, at the end of the month. How is the body? Last Sunday, just to put everyone in the picture, you didn't just play plenty of minutes in first grade, you also played reserve grade.
Yeah, we had a tough week during the week. We lost a few players in reserve grade who wasn't liking it or wasn't having fun. It's not what we want as a club. So what better way to put myself forward and go, yeah, all right, boys, get behind me, let's go. So we'll bring and I know a lot of the boys I wanted to play with, especially like my little cousin Jamali. I said, you get up here, you can play everything, I'll play with you. It's good. I loved it. Couldn't believe we won, but it was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And hopefully it brings these 19 boys up and say, yeah, I'll back up. So it's, good.
All right, one final question before we go here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. There's still plenty of footy to be played this season, and no doubt plenty of twists and turns, but Kincumber, can you go all the way and lift the trophy at the back end of the season, and what makes you think that's possible?
Oh, I don't like talking about us and that, after all the articles and everything, I believe everyone else thinks we can go all the way. We just worry about our own circle. We just keep the outside noise outside, keep everything here inside, and we know what we got and we know it's special, and a lot of teams are worrying about us. So when there is a negative article out there, we know they're trying to bring us down, but we're all level-headed here and we're all got each other's backs, and we all just work hard for each other. So I'm sure we'll be there in the back end of the September. So.
Righto, well, good luck against the Eagles this Sunday. Good luck for the rest of the season, and thanks for joining us here on Bushbeat.
Cheers. Have a good one.
There he is, David Fifita, the captain coach of Kincumber here on rugbyleague.com. Stay with us, more to come right after this. Welcome back to our Queensland segment here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com as we prepare to call the Mount Isa Grand Final this coming Sunday. Yes, only 3 more sleeps to go for Townies v Wanderers. Live and free from Alec Inch Oval in Mount Isa from 2 o'clock local time. That's 5 a.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. for our listeners in New Zealand. The Mount Isa Grand Final, Townies v Wanderers. Now, last Sunday, they had a dress rehearsal. They've had a few of them this year in a 2-team competition. And we had 21 tries scored. I kid you not, 21 tries last weekend. Townies beating Wanderers 70 points to 46. And you can bet your bottom dollar that it'll be nothing like that on Sunday afternoon. I'd expect a much closer game and a lot more tackling in the Premiership decider in a place where they love their rugby league. And I can't wait to get back there on Sunday afternoon. Our coverage live and free once again from 2 o'clock here on rugbyleague.com. In the Gulf of Carpentaria, the second of the cluster days held last Saturday at Normanton. Plenty of Indigenous talent on show. Cowanyama 12, Doomadgee United 20, Normanton Stingers 8, Doomadgee Dragons 6, Mornington Island Raiders 28, Mungibbi Dangara 4, Doomadgee Dragons 30, Doomadgee United 4, Mornington Island Raiders 10, Cowanyama 6, and the Stingers beat the Mungibbi Dangara on a forfeit. To the ladder, the Stingers and Raiders first and second respectively on 9 and 7 points, followed by the Dragons on 4, then Mungibbi Dangara and Doomadgee United both on 2, Cowanyama on 0. The next cluster day will be in Burketown on the 12th of July. In Far North Queensland Rugby League, no footy last weekend, so recapping the ladder after 10 rounds of footy, we've got Atherton, Cairns Brothers and Suburbs all on 18, Mareeba and Mossman 11, Hose and Innisfail 10, Tully and Roos 8, Yarrabah 6, Edmonton 2. This Saturday, Innisfail make the trip north to play the Sharkies at Mossman, and at Smithfield it's Hose and Suburbs. Those games to start at 6 o'clock. And Tully head up to Mareeba to play the Gladiators at Davies Park. It's a 6:20 kickoff for that one. And at Peterson Park on Sunday afternoon from 3 o'clock, plenty of pressure on winless Edmonton with the Storm scheduled to play Cairns Brothers. And I'm willing to, give the Melbourne Storm, the Edmonton Storm, I'm willing to give them 80-point start if they actually start the game and stay for the 80 minutes. There's a challenge. Now to the Townsville competition. Last Friday night in the sugar milling town of Ingham, Herbert River 12, Brothers 24. In the other matches, Charters Towers 38, Western Lions 24, Norths 8, Souths 44, Centrals 24, Burdekin 14. Souths are leading the way on 16 points, Brothers 12, the Towers 10, Herbert River and Burdekin on 8, Centrals and Norths on 6, Western Lions on 4. This Saturday at Jack Mansky, we've got Brothers and Norths from 3 o'clock. On Sunday, it's Western Lions hosting Centrals from 3:30. Whilst at the Sports Reserve at the same time, it's Souths and the Towers. In the Mackay competition, last weekend, Western Suburbs beat Whitsunday 36-20 at Proserpine, Serena 24, Souths 42, and Magpies 22, Moranbah 24. To the ladder, Moranbah on top on 14 points, Souths 12, Brothers 10, Maggies and Wests 8, Serena 4, Whitsunday 2. This weekend, all games at the Junior League grounds. On Saturday, we've got Serena and Brothers from 7 o'clock. Then on Sunday, Moranbah v Wests and Magpies v Souths. Both games starting at 3 o'clock. In the Central Highlands, club footy returned last Friday night at 2 venues. Firstly, Mackendale Park in Emerald, Brothers edged out Bluff in a thriller, 38-36. And at Middlemount, the Panthers brushed aside Springshaw, 32-0. In the Saturday games, Claremont 24, Tigers 38, Peak Downs 24, Blackwater 22. And recapping the table, Middlemount on 18, Brothers and Bluff 16, Tigers 13, Springshaw 10, Blackwater 9, Claremont 8, Peak Downs 6. And for this weekend, starting on Friday night, Tigers and Claremont at Mackendale Park from 8 o'clock, and then Saturday's program at 4 p.m, Springshaw at home to Brothers, and at 7 o'clock it's Blackwater hosting Peak Downs. In the Central West, Barcaldine are sitting back this week after cementing their place in the grand final on Saturday week. Last weekend, the San Goannas defeating the defending premiers Blackall in the major semi, 40 points to 18, amid all that drama with players being suspended after that 47th Battalion fiasco. And in the minor semi-final, Longreach Ilfracombe Tigers, they snuck home 28-26 in the knockout semi against the Alpha Brumbies. So this Saturday, we've got Tigers off to Blackall for the preliminary final. Kick-off is 6 o'clock, and the winner, of course, through to the big dance against the San Goannas. In Rockhampton, club footy resumed last weekend. Emu Park on the road beat Tenham 24-4, Rocky Brothers 64, Gladstone Brothers 20, Valleys 18, Yeppoon 42, Norths 46, Fitzroy's no score. It's Rocky Brothers on top on 15, Emu Park 12, Norths 11, Yeppoon 10, Gladstone Brothers 6, Valleys 5, Tenham on 2, Fitzroy's on 1. This Saturday, we've got Norths and Brothers on the north side at 3 o'clock, and at 6:30 p.m. on the other side of town, Fitzroy's v Tenham, and at the same time, it's Yeppoon on the Cap Coast playing Gladstone Brothers. And on Sunday from 3 o'clock, Valleys entertain Emu Park. In Bundaberg last weekend at Salter Oval, West 30, Harvey Bay 44, East 16, Waves 40. And at Estale Park, Roos 24, Brothers 34. To the ladder, Waves 15, Brothers 11, Roos and Harvey Hervey Bay 7, East 6, West 2. This weekend in the rum capital, Waves and Roos at 3:45, followed by Western Brothers at 5:30. That's the double header at Salter. And at Hervey Bay from 5 o'clock, it's the Gulls and Easts. In the Northern Districts, an absolute chaos, embarrassment, all of the above comes to mind here last week at Gin Gin. We had 2 forfeits out of 3 games in the men's competition. Miriamvale Magpies, a no-show in their match against Isis Devils, and the Marlins doing the same to South Callan Sharks. Quite embarrassing for local officials in the Northern Districts. And as for Gin Gin v Avondale, it did go ahead. Tigers 26-16 over the Hawks. The latter, Isis on 16, South Callan 12, Avondale 10, Gin Gin and Calliope on 8. Miriamvale 6, Marlins on 2. And this Saturday, well, supposed to be 3 games at Childers. We'll find out on Saturday. South Callan v Gin Gin at 1:20, then Marlins v Miriamvale at 3 o'clock, and from 6 p.m. it's the Devils and Calliope. In the Central Burnett, Monto was the venue last weekend. Biggendon 40, Gayndah 12, Monto 52, Eisvale 12. Gayndah leading the way on 14 points, Biggendon 13, Mundabra 11, Monto 8, Eisvale 2. On Saturday at Martin Love Oval, we've got Gayndah versus Monto at 3 o'clock. And from 5 p.m. it's Mundabra versus Biggendon. In the neighbouring South Burnett, Cherbourg was the venue last Saturday. And get this, Mergen, they forfeited their match to Wandai. The game between the Hornets and Kingaroy went ahead, Cherbourg getting the chocolates 48 points to 32. And the table, Cherbourg on top on 13, Kingaroy, Wandai both on 6, Mergen on 3. This Saturday at the TJ O'Neill Oval, we've got Cherbourg v Mergen from 2 o'clock. But will the Mustangs turn up? We certainly hope so. And from 3:30, it's Kingaroy versus Wandai. On the Sunshine Coast, last weekend, 4 matches from Caboolture through to Coolum. Stanley River 42, Maroochydore 6. Caboolture 14, Kawana 50, Coolum 12, Biwa 6, Caloundra 46, Nambour no score. The latest standings on the Sunny Coast, Stanley River 36, Coolum 32, Maroochydore 24, Bulldogs, Dolphins and Pirates all on 20, Caloundra 16, Crushers 8 and Caboolture in the cellar on 4. On Saturday, round 10 on the Sunny Coast, we've got the Crushers going south to play Caboolture in what is shaping as the battle for the wooden spoon. Stanley River off to Coolum and the Sharkies to welcome the Pirates. Kick-off of those games 6 o'clock. And on Sunday, it's the Doggies hosting the Dolphins from 3 p.m. In the Ipswich Rugby League, no footy this weekend, but as for last weekend, West End 20, Redbank Plains 26, Norths and Brothers. It was a Norths home game and it finished up 12 all, and Fassifern Bombers 16, Jets 58. To the ladder in Ipswich, we've got Redbank Plains and Brothers on 9, Jets and Bombers on 8, North 6, West End 2. To the Garden City of Toowoomba, last weekend, Gundawindi winning at home 32-24 over Oakey, Dolby 16, Valleys 30, Warwick 28, Pittsworth 38, Brothers 50, Wattles 24, and Highfields at home 34 all against Souths. To the table, Gatton on top still on 16, Wattles and Brothers 12, Valleys 10, Gundawindi 9, Warwick 8, Dolby 7, Pittsworth 6, Oakey 4, Highfields 3, Souths on 3. This Saturday, Gatton off to Pittsworth as Wattles host Valleys at 6:30 p.m. Sunday from 2:30, Souths at Dolby, Brothers at Gundawindi and Highfields at home to Warwick. In the Roma competition last week, Cities 84, Miles 10, Chinchilla 22, St George 32, Taroom Wandoan Battlers 32, Jandowie 14 and Mitchell v Wallumbilla Surat. Well, that game didn't go ahead, and I'll have more on that next week on Bushbeat. The latter, Cities 24, Battlers 16, Jandowie 16, Red Bulls, St George, Chinchilla and Miles on 12, and Mitchell on 8. This Sunday from 3 o'clock, we've got Cities v Red Bulls, Miles v Chinchilla, Jandowie versus St George, and at Taroom, it's the Battlers and Mitchell. In the Border Rugby League last weekend, south of the border, in Tenterfield, the birthplace of Federation, Stanthorpe beat the Tigers 38-16. And this Saturday, we've got Tenterfield off to Inglewood. Kick-off is 2 o'clock. On the Gold Coast last Sunday, Runaway Bay 14, Currumbin 28, Burleigh 34, Tugun 12, Helensvale 64, Southport 8, and the ladder, Burleigh 18, Currumbin 12, Tugun 10, Runaway Bay 8, Helensvale 6, and Southport on 0. This Sunday from 3 o'clock, Runaway Bay welcome Burleigh, Currumbin host Helensvale, and the Tigers and Tugun at Southport. And a reminder about the Mount Isa Grand Final this coming Sunday from 2 o'clock local time here, live and free in fact, on rugbyleague.com. You're listening to Bushbeat. We'll have more right after this. Welcome back to our final segment here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com, where we go far and wide right across the continent. Let's get into it. Firstly, the Melbourne Storm Premiership in Metro Victoria. And last weekend, the Thunderbolts 52-18 winners over the Casey Warriors. The Northern Thunder 36-12 over the Altona Roosters. And Sunshine Cowboys 44-16 against the Sunbury Tigers. This Saturday, the Bunnies host the Tigers at 3:20. At Seabrook Reserve, we've got the Thunderbolts and the Northern Thunder. And then from 4:40, it's the Sunshine Cowboys at home to the Warriors. And in the state's northeast, the Storm Goulburn Murray Premiership continued last weekend. Another no-show, sadly, by the Wolfpack. The Eagles from Shepparton missing out on a game at Glenrowan, where Tumbarumba hammered Wangaratta 48-16, and back up on the border, Wodonga 8, Corowa 48. This Sunday, according to the schedule, at Corowa, we've got Wodonga and Wang from 1:30, followed by Cougars v Wolfpack at 3:15. And the Border Bears with a home game against Shep. That starts at 1:30. In South Australia, more issues with the local competition last weekend with another forfeit, this time Souths unable or unwilling to show up against the Black Swans. And of the two matches that were played, Eels beat Roosters 58-20 at Eyre Park. And at the same venue, the Warriors absolutely massacred the Adelaide Plains 116-0. But I will say this, at least the Battling Brothers took the field. On Friday night, we've got South scheduled to host the Warriors. And on Sunday, a doubleheader at Murray Bridge. First up, Adelaide Plains v Roosters at 2:40, followed by Black Swans and Eels from 4 o'clock. In the West, plenty of excitement, of course, with State of Origin coming back last night. Terrific crowd, terrific atmosphere, and a terrific result for the series with that epic victory by Queensland. Go you Maroons. And on the local stage, in the Fuel to Go and Play Premiership last weekend, away from home, North Beach beat the Giants 52-12. South Perth on the road routed Rockingham 44 points to 6. And Willagee at home, too good for Freo, 30 points to 4. No footy this weekend with the NRL match taking centre stage. That's the Dolphins playing Newcastle. And finally, in the Northern Territory, a dramatic top-of-the-table clash at TRL headquarters last Friday night. It was pretty well documented in the media, including the national media. Brothers 26, Litchfield 28. And by the way, that spectator who found himself in plenty of hot water, all because of his behaviour, forcing the game to be stopped, he has been suspended by NRL Northern Territory until November 2027. Good riddance, I say. In other games last weekend, Nightcliff 44, South Darwin 26, Palmerston Raiders 40, Northern Sharks no score. This Saturday at TRL headquarters at 4:40, we've got Nightcliff v Palmerston, followed by Brothers versus Souths at 7:40. And at Weber Park from 7:30pm, it's Litchfield v Sharkies. That is our show for this week. Thanks to David Fifita for joining me at Kincumber. Thanks to our producer Steve Mascord in London. And thanks to you for listening. The news is next. Bye for now.